Hello and welcome to week 6 in a series of videos where I'm vlogging my way through BSL level 1 course. Now last week you might remember that I looked kind of baffled, maybe like a rabbit in the headlights because of all the travel directions that we were taking on board towards the end of lesson 5, and it was an awful lot to take in. Somebody did post in the comments that at my videos after the sessions I look like, you know, like I don't know, like just it's been so much to take in, and it is a lot to take in, but I am really enjoying it. So last week, just to briefly recap, we did weather and we were looking at the seasons as well. So we looked at spring, and there was summer, and there was autumn, and there was winter. And then some of those symbols signs are similar to signs that you would use for other words. So for example, where summer is kind of that, hot is like that with perhaps a bit more expression. And similarly for cold, winter is that. But if you're doing cold, you'd be going like that, putting a bit more expression and a bit more painting, a bit more of a picture about it. That's kind of what I'm picking up on at the moment. I did have a word with the teacher about the fact that the travel directions we were doing next, and we were talking about I think travel as well, and sort of traffic jam I think was kind of sort of like that, and there were all sorts of things about travel directions. And she said, don't worry, we're going to recap, we're going to do all that again, because we kind of crammed all that in towards the end of the lesson. And that's not a bad thing. That's not by any way of a criticism. It was just that it was an awful lot for us to kind of all take in at the end of the lesson. But she said, don't worry, we're going to be going over all of that again at the start of this lesson, and no doubt going on then and learning some new stuff as well. This is the last lesson before half term, and I'm really hoping that half term I'm not going to be taking a break from all of this. I'm going to try and consolidate everything that I've learned in this half term and try and recap all of it, because when we go back, it's going to be the run up to the exam. So, you know, got to kind of bear that in mind. Anyway, enough waffle from me. Let's get to the lesson, and I'll tell you all about it afterwards. So here we are then, it is the next day, and the reason that I didn't do any recording in the car is because everything changed at the last minute. And I received an email from my teacher to say that the course was cancelled for that night because somebody in her son's nursery has gone down with coronavirus. So that means that they're all having to isolate for 10 to 14 days, and she and her husband and a young boy are all having a test to see how they are. They get the results in a day or two. But because of the nature of the lesson, we were able to go ahead anyway and have it via Zoom. Now, I'm not a massive fan of Zoom with my developer head on. I think it's a terribly written piece of software, but I'm not going to get into that in these particular vlogs. But I kind of had to, you know, put up with that and use it anyway, because otherwise I'd have missed out on the class. So we took the class via Zoom. Now, the teacher actually was passed for working in a classroom environment because it's all socially distanced. Everybody's either got visors or masks on. So she could have carried on, but she said to us that she really didn't want to take the risk with that. So let me try and remember the sign for coronavirus. It is that. It's coronavirus, I think, something like that. There we go, that is coronavirus. Yeah, so she decided that let's do it via Zoom, and then we can at least do the lesson. So instead of learning new things, what she did was to take the opportunity to go through some of the stuff that we've learned in weeks gone by. And something that he definitely told me is I need to practice a hell of a lot more. The last couple of weeks have been really busy work-wise, and I've struggled to practice. So what I'm going to do between now, it's half term coming up, so we've got a week break. So between now and the next lesson in 2 weeks, which will hopefully be back in person again, because it's after that 10 to 14 day period. So hopefully, fingers crossed, everything will be okay and we can go back. I'm hoping that I can consolidate all the learning so far. I wouldn't say I've necessarily forgotten a lot of it. I can remember most of it. But I think what it is with me is a case of fluency. It's a case of doing the finger spelling and looking doing it at a reasonable speed. It doesn't have to be fast, but it has to be, I think, accurate would be good. And I'm still kind of like sort of missing fingers and this sort of thing doing this. So I need to only practice is going to sort that. And also slightly having to think things through before I can respond to a question. And also we were doing things where we would kind of string things together to make up a conversation. And while I can sort of answer a question that I've been asked, kind of what some of the other people were doing, who obviously have been practicing, is to kind of introduce other signs in to kind of make it a bit more, paint a bit more of a picture. And that's something that I really need to practice. She gave us a few exam tips and things as well. So all in all, very interesting and a worthwhile process. It was worthwhile doing the lesson, even though really ideally we would have been there rather than doing it remotely. But at least we've got that option. At least we can do that. At least we could still have the lesson. So it was good fun. I still enjoyed it, and yeah. So there we are. That's what happened this week. So this is a much shorter video than usual. There'll be a break next week because it's half term, and then we'll be back the week after that with the next part of this process as we head for the run-in to the exam. What I'm going to try and do, I'm going to set myself a bit of a challenge, which is to try and do a bit more signing in these videos, because I think that's going to help with my confidence, because a lot of it is confidence. Actually, somebody said in the lesson yesterday that a lot of what you're doing is showing that you have the confidence to do the signs and to sign with confidence, really, to show that you kind of know what you're doing, as opposed to just sort of like meekly, mildly finding your way through it. But I'm hoping that over the next couple of weeks I can set some solid practice time in, and see whether then perhaps I can start to do a little bit of signing in these videos. I feel very self-conscious, I do feel so, because I know that I'm just not very good at it, and that is that lack of confidence thing. Anyway, enough waffle from me, because I'm just standing here staring at the camera. It's very dull. So I will say thank you very much for watching. Thank you for sticking with me, and I'll have a good half term, and I will see you in a couple of weeks. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you want more.